Greetings, everyone. This is DJ Patrick Scientific from the Audio Infusion, and I am in the middle of a Skype interview with Ree. And Ree, thank you for agreeing to do the Skype interview.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes, let's get started. First off, how did you get started making music?
I've been doing music for a long time. I started actually writing music when I was in high school. It was more like guitar-based music at that time, because I was listening to different styles then. So I just started sort of writing some riffs on my guitar. And I was already kind of writing poetry, so it seemed natural to start writing lyrics as well. So those are my first songs, just sort of guitar and singing a little bit. It took me a little while to start singing, actually, but it just sort of evolved from there.
Okay, so are you a classically trained singer, or you just learned?
No, I'm self-taught. Yeah, like at first I was too shy to sing. So I just thought I'm going to be a guitar player.
Okay.
But then I was like, I started getting ideas and I thought I might as well just try, So I just started singing, just trying it out. And I think the first songs I actually sung like in front of an audience were Nirvana songs because it just suited my range more.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I just practiced really. Just went from there.
Okay. So who are some of the people that inspired you to make music then?
Well, I suppose if it's more focused on the music I make now.
Well, let's do both then. Who inspired you to make music and who inspires the music that you make?
So I suppose when I started writing, so when I was in high school, I was really, really into classic rock. I was listening to a lot of Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and then the grungier side of things like Nirvana, Alice in Chains. And I was really into Tool.
Okay.
That kind of stuff. So that one made me want to write. And then I started listening to more electronic music quite a lot later. I think Burial was my first intro into electronic music, or at least what sort of pushed me more in that direction. So him and Noah Shabib, one of Drake's producers, he made me really he inspired me to start producing, I suppose. Okay. Like making beats and stuff like that. Yeah, there's loads, I suppose, over the years that have pushed me in different directions. But I suppose a big one for doing electronic music was Arca, because he produced FKA Twigs EP2.
Okay.
And when I heard that, I was just like, okay, I have to do something like that, be able to produce something like that. So that's what really made me go for it.
So what's the scene like in the UK for the music that you're making?
I'd say it's really good. It's competitive, but in a good way. There are a lot of amazing artists coming out of London, Brighton, Manchester, all over the place, and all sort of in, because I'd say this sort of style with the kind of R&B, hip hop, electro, it's pretty big at the moment. So yeah, there seems to be a lot going on. A lot of really good singers. I'm a big fan of the UK hip hop scene in particular.
Okay.
Probably the slightly more underground stuff, but there's a couple labels I quite like. I think they're both London based. So yeah, I like that stuff a lot.
Okay. Well, let's talk about this album. What was it like making the album? You can tell us the name of the album and tell us what it was like making it.
So the album's called The Pale Queen. It's named after a David Foster Wallace novel. I was reading a lot of his books leading up to it, so it just sort of is a nod to him, really. It's, my process is just it's quite simple in that it's really just me and a laptop. It's quite solitary. I'm just doing it. Most of it's just, produced in a bedroom. I spend a lot of time in headphones. Yeah. So it's, like I say, it's me with a laptop, a lot of experimenting. I find some cool sounds and I might manipulate them a bit or just mess around until I find something I think works. And then when I have a solid beat, that's when the words start to come. And then I might add the vocals and then change it some more, So sometimes, there's that point where you think, okay, I really need to finish this. I need to say when it's done. But, that I suppose that does come naturally. So, yeah.
Okay, so and I love the videos, swagger that video. How did you come up with making that video? What was the concept behind it?
Well, it's funny because I was going out to BC to visit my sister. She lives up in Whistler, and I was going to be gone for I think about a month. And Paul at my label was like, "Oh, while you're out there, you should see if you could do a video or two, So I just started looking up, music video producers and stuff in Vancouver, and got in touch with this guy, Everett, who ended up doing it. And I said to him, I'm pretty easy, really. I just kind of want to see the city and like have a sort of, a late night romantic kind of vibe to it. And he knew the city really well. So he found some really nice places to shoot it. And he actually is the one skateboarding in it. He's like, I thought it might be cool if there was like this skateboard who's sort of lurking behind you while you're singing. And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. To sort of represent the potentially someone I'm singing about,
Right.
Yeah, I just thought, he found some really nice places to shoot. And I thought it suited the vibe of the song really well in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was fun. I got a bit of a tour of the city.
Well, that's great. That's great. I mean, I love the video. I mean, I was showing my intern the other day the video. He was just like, "Yeah, what's that song?" I was like, "Yeah, here's the." He's like, "Re?" I'm like, "Yeah, hold on. Here's the song. I can do you one better. Here's the song. Here's the video. Go ahead and look at it."
Yeah, cool.
So he liked it, and I liked it. It was
nice
quite simple, and a video doesn't have to be extra for it to be a good video.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, and I mean, the vibe of the music is pretty chill anyway, so I think that the video needs to suit that, and I think it worked well together. So, yeah, I think it turned out well. I was quite happy with it.
Yeah. As far as your music goes, have you ever thought of other people remixing it?
Yeah, I'm quite a big fan of some drum and bass, so I always love a good drum and bass remix. There's that really good Ivy Lab one from the previous album. And there is a producer called Halogenics who used to be in Ivy Lab. And I love his solo stuff, so I'd love for him to remix one. Alex Perez is another one.
I like Alex Perez too.
Yeah, I think, because he does this sort of liquid drum and bass as well, it's very melodic still.
Yeah.
I like.
I spin drum and bass as well too.
What's that?
I spin drum and bass as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Nice.
I know his music.
Yeah, it's great. I saw him live in December, actually. It was really good. But there's also this other producer called, JD Reed.
Not familiar with him.
Yeah, he's been working with a few artists in England, but I think he'd be a cool one as well to remix a track. So who knows? Maybe one day he will.
Yeah. I think It Was Love would make a good song to be remixed myself.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, maybe something will happen with that.
I saw something on your IG page, and it says, "Will I forever be a grunger." Is this true? Will you forever be a grunger?
Yeah. It's funny because I know a grunger is, typically someone who loves grunge, right? Grunge music. But I suppose, because it's funny, when I wrote that for Plain Jane, it was really I was just messing around in a studio room, and I just started singing that. And I thought, oh, it works, But what I kind of mean by it is more of like a style and an attitude, being quite low maintenance, bit of a tomboy, generally choosing comfort over fashion,
Right.
Baggy clothes. And I don't know, it's just a good way, I think, to describe my style generally. So I think I'll probably always be a bit of a grunger.
Right. Do you think of your voice as a musical instrument? I've heard you manipulate your voice on several songs, and do you really think of it as a musical instrument, and how often do you feel that you should do that in songs?
Yeah, I do. I think also because, you know, like I was saying earlier, that I'm self-taught as a singer, and not as technically brilliant as some vocalists would be. So I just sort of work with what I've got and play around with it, you know.
Okay.
And some of my music, you know, I just sometimes think, oh, that'd be cool if I like pitch shifted it super low or high or something like that. Or I like putting lots of delay on things and affecting it, some distortion. So yeah, I see it as another instrument.
What software do you use, if you don't mind me asking, that you use to make music? What software and hardware are you into?
I use Ableton mainly. I still record my vocals in Logic, because when I first started learning to produce, I was using Logic. But then when I had to start thinking about the live show, it just made sense to switch into Ableton. And I generally am just using that, and then lots of plugins.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't. Up till recently, I didn't even really use a MIDI controller very often. Just a lot of like putting things in manually, like with a mouse.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, and I think again, being like self-taught, you just find your own way with things. Develop your own methods, and I like to just keep things simple and make sure I understand everything I'm doing before I add.
Yeah.
I'm sure if one day I'm like able to afford lots of equipment, maybe I'll splash out a bit and start to find new things to add to my studio. But you gotta make do with what you can. So
It's to talk about that. Hip hop started. They didn't have a lot, and they made some really incredible music in the early days of hip hop.
Yeah.
And nowadays, people are going too far with what they have. There's, I can try this, and the music isn't good. But some of the beats and the songs that they made back in the day, with the little amount that they had, they maximized the potential of all that stuff, and it was just fantastic. And you give people too much stuff, and they get lost in the concept of what they can do with it, and they can't really make good music. So I see what path that you're taking.
I think it can be a bit intimidating as well, especially to start things. You think, oh no, what do I get? What piece should I, it's a lot to think about. So when I had started out, I mentioned Noah Shabib earlier, producing for Drake. Mm-hmm. And I remember reading that I think the first album they did together was all just done on a laptop, an old laptop, with some headphones. And I thought, if he can do it like that, why can't I,
Right.
Just gives you a bit of a boost. Like it is possible, to do it simply, I suppose. It just takes some imagination and patience and practice. So just spending a lot of time doing it.
So are you a classically trained musician?
I am, to a certain degree. I've had classical piano lessons since I was 8. I mean, I'm not anymore, but I started when I was 8, and my teacher took me through the grades up to around grade 8, and I loved it at the time. I played all the time, practiced every day, especially when I got into music I liked. I would spend a lot of time working on those pieces. Like when I started learning for Elise, for example, that was one of my first obsessions, I guess, in music.
So at least you have a lot of the theory behind you when you're creating your music. Yeah,
for sure. I think, it just helped me to understand music. And then when I started learning guitar, when I was a teenager, that helped. It was definitely a good foundation.
Did you take guitar lessons, or are you self-taught on guitar?
I mainly self-taught. I had a few lessons in my school, but it was mainly just, getting guitar tabs online and just teaching myself. And then I just started to write my own stuff. So I just sort of found my own way with it.
So what's it like being on True Thoughts?
It's really great. I feel super lucky to be with them, and they just give me so much freedom to do what I want to do. It's mainly just about encouraging each artist to do what they love, really. There's no sort of like compromise in terms of, if I send music, it's not like maybe you should change this or do this. It's just, they want you to do your thing.
Yeah.
So it's ideal, really. And they're very well respected, and they put out a lot of great music. So yeah, I feel very honored to be on that label.
Okay. Have you thought of working with other people?
Yeah, I mean, I was saying earlier, I'm big on the hip hop scene in the UK, and I would love to produce for some of them, really. So we'll see if that might happen in the future.
Okay,
I
just
like
let me know
making
if that
beats.
happens.
Yeah, I will. For sure.
Hey, well, thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and life to do this interview with us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Yep. So I'm sure you're going to let us know when you have new projects out, right?
Yeah, for sure.
See,
I'm working
that's
on stuff, so.
she's working on stuff now, and she's going to let us know. So you heard it here first. We have her word. We're going to hold you to it.
That's good. It'll motivate me.
There you go. So, okay, all the best, and you take care, and we look forward to hearing from you real soon, all right?
Yeah, thanks. Nice speaking to you.
Okay, take care.
This is DJ Wish from the Audio Infusion. Thanks for listening to this audio interview. If you like what you heard, click the subscribe button below.